for Friday, December 20, 2024. And making the headlines tonight, school managements did not get the disbursed funds for all teachers affected by delayed payments. Complaint of forgery filed against attorney, and trial for challenge to State Bank extension concludes. We take our first break and return with the news in detail. delayed payments of increments and allowances being paid by today, some have yet to receive their money. That's because while the government made lump sum payments to school managements for them to make the individual disbursements to teachers, it appears some managements were unable to complete the transactions for everyone affected. Our reports are that blame is once more being passed around, and it is left to be seen by when everyone will get what is due to them, as the Christmas school break has started. The government is under a threat of strike action from the Belize National Teachers Union if the teachers do not receive the funds by the end of this month. One source told us the total sum paid by the government to managements is over $1 million. Pastor Dozie Ifeanyi Chineke on November 13th this year filed a police report for forgery against attorney Orson O.J. Ellington. Pastor Dozie's report followed comments made by the Commissioner of Police in August this year that a police investigation can only commence after he has filed a police report. The matter came to light when the General Legal Counsel, GLC, heard a complaint that Pastor Dozie filed against the attorney. In its April 19th ruling, the GLC stated that it would refer to the police the second engagement letter that was produced by Mr. Ellington to the council for the police officers to forensically investigate whether the signature of Pastor Dozie has been fabricated, end quote. This document was presented by Ellington as part of the evidence to defend himself against Dozie's complaint before the GLC. The members of the GLC had questions about the authenticity of the signature on the document, which outlined the terms of the retention of his services. The second engagement letter had a way higher contingency fee than what Dozie admitted to have signed. Though Ellington was twice requested to produce original copies of the two letters with the wet ink signatures, he only provided scanned copies. Even though the GLC said the document would be referred to police, the commissioner told the media that a complaint was still required. Now that the complaint has been filed, Dozie is reporting that he requested but was denied a copy of his police report. He has since written the Commissioner of Police asking that he is kept abreast of the police's investigation into the forgery allegation and to be provided with a copy of his report. We are following up with the Compol to determine if an investigation has been launched. Pastor Dozie's letter was copied to the office of the DPP and to the Ministry of Home Affairs. High Court Justice Rajiv Guntileki has reserved his judgment on the constitutional claim challenging the government's compulsory acquisition of the 23.4-acre extension to State Bank Island, currently in the name of businessman Michael Feinstein. The trial lasted a day and a half, with the afternoon session on Thursday going right through until after 7 p.m. Today's session started at 10 a.m. and concluded after midday. The two attorneys who took prominence in the case chose not to speak to the media at the conclusion of the trial. They are Senior Counsel Godfrey Smith and claimant Michael Feinstein, and Senior Counsel Eamon Courtney on behalf of interested party OPSA. The company out of Honduras that bought out the State Bank Enterprises Limited debt from Atlantic Bank. As the main defendant, one of the points made by the government side, who retained 3 attorneys, is that there is no alternative site for the property given the context. In response, Smith pointed to comments by the Prime Minister that both Port of Belize Limited and the Port of Magical Belize facilities remained in play to become cruise ports to give Belize its cruise ship berthing facility. Whereas Feinstein argues that the Land Acquisition Public Purpose Act is unconstitutional because it does not set out the manner and a timeline by which compensation should be paid. The government, OPSA, and Atlantic Bank, as the receiver of SBEL, argue otherwise. Feinstein and Atlantic Bank are also in court in another civil matter as Atlantic Bank tries to get the court to order that Feinstein perpetrated fraud to end up with the 23.4 acres in his name instead of the company's name. Dr. Marvin Manzanero, former Director of Health Services, came to public prominence at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic when he represented a calm and expert voice in the then government's Ask the Experts sessions. When the administration's changed, he was assigned to International Corporation. Alongside his government service, Dr. Manza provided clinical and outpatient service at the La Luna Luz Hospital in Santa Elena, Cayo. That stopped in 2009 but resumed in 2014 and has continued since after his regular work hours at the ministry. During his Christmas vacation from now until January 6th, Dr. Manza will be stationed full-time at La Luna Luz, capitalizing on his willingness to share his knowledge. This week we had an extended interview with him on different health topics, and we'll be reporting on those in different stories on newscasts. For now, we share his observations on an increase in doctor visits usually seen during the festive season.
Two things that tend to happen, and if, at least from my vantage point over the years as an internist, you do tend to see more patients come in around the Christmas period to actually be hospitalized more than to the outpatient setting. People showing up with acute situations of poorly controlled diabetes, strokes, myocardial infarctions, acute situations where they're having congestive heart failure, which is usually people having underlying conditions. And because of the Christmas period or the festive periods, they tend to do two things. One is overdo it in terms of what we eat, drink, and if you're doing physical activity, perhaps stop doing that. And when I say drink, it's not only alcohol, but other sugary drinks. And people tend to also do something called a pill holiday. I mean, they stop taking medications because of what they are going to be drinking. And so any chronic condition can be acutely affected. And this goes for both males and females alike. And there is something called now in general medicine, in medicine that we know, which is something that in some literature is called as a Christmas blues, where some people tend to have more acute heart situations happening associated to Christmas situations. That usually has to do with more emotional family situations that can be acutely stressed out, if you will.
After the break, BSI makes a record raw bulk export of sugar. Stay with us. Belize Sugar Industries is announcing a new single raw bulk sugar export record. The value of the export is 49 million Belize dollars and is expected to be loaded over a period of 8 days. And that's only because the rain slowed things down a bit. Otherwise, loading would have concluded after 6 days. The record comes after the second year of the company's introduction of its raw sugar and molasses terminal at the port of Big Creek in Independence. According to BSI, this same shipment would take more than 2 months to load at Port of Belize. Mac McLaughlin, Belize Country Manager and VP of International Relations, ASR Group, stated, quote, "The improved loading rate alone boosts our ability to export our products more efficiently and competitively, thereby increasing the long-term sustainability of the industry," end quote. BSI invested $30.6 million in the facility. 22-year-old Lincoln Daniel Diaz walked out of court a free man on Thursday after being acquitted of the July 2020 murder of 38-year-old Oren Velasquez, owner of Breda O's Pizza Parlor in Ladyville. Velasquez and his teenage son were closing for the night when they were ambushed by 2 assailants intent on robbing the business. Velasquez was fatally shot, leaving behind 2 children and his pregnant partner. Diaz was charged in November that year when he was only 19 years old. The case came up for trial by judge alone before High Court Justice Candace Nanton this year. In a doc statement, Diaz admitted to robbing the business but not being the trigger man. The prosecution did not successfully establish to the court that Diaz had acted with someone else, and Justice Nanton was not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt of Diaz's guilt. We are confirming if Diaz was ever charged with robbery. 19-year-old Cameron Miles had to be hospitalized on Wednesday night after being shot in Belize City. Reports are that he had gone to Eric's supermarket and pulled a .38 revolver at the cashier and demanded money. However, a licensed firearm holder pulled his gun from behind the counter and fired several shots at Miles, hitting him to the shoulder. He was taken to the KHMH for treatment. A groundbreaking ceremony was held on Thursday in San Ignacio, Cayo, for what will be the new Contiki Community Police Substation. Contiki is a neighborhood in San Ignacio which is located at the municipality's southwest entrance along the George Price Highway, coming from Benque Viejo del Carmen. Cayo North Area Representative Honorable Michael Chabat said the station, which is scheduled to be completed in 6 months, is necessary as the area is fast growing and criminal activity is on the rise.
You know, this is one of the fastest growing communities we have in the San Ignacio area, and so we felt that it was important to have a substation here that can serve the Contiki neighborhood as well as Shawville, Carlos Abet and the Boyton area, and it also gives the police easier access to the Benque Viejo Road so that they can patrol more often and so forth.
We know that you have a plan for this to start and finish. Where is it?
We are expecting that this will be completed in 6 months.
And I don't know if you know the cost of this when it finish?
Yes, this is going to cost us about $200,000.
Is there who come with the plan for this, the way it should build?
Yeah, the plan was actually designed by Mr. Arnaldo Hernandez. He designed the building and the concept. It was done in discussions with the police department to ensure that it would have all the facilities that they need to operate. Well, you know, we have had a couple reports of burglaries in this area, and so that is a concern for us. And as you know, we had that recent traffic accident, which is of major concern to us as well. And so we're hoping that with a greater police presence, we're going to see a lowering of both road traffic accidents and burglaries and so forth.
Minister of Home Affairs Honorable Kareem Musa said the station is a community effort brought to fruition by the area's Community Watch, the Belize and Natural Energy Charitable Trust, and Minister Chabat using his community development funds.
community policing has always been one of the centerpiece policies of our administration, and seeing this come to fruition today is proof positive that you are an active, aggressive, close-knit group, and I want to give them a round of applause, the Kontiki Neighborhood Watch Group. And of course, to the Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust. They are a phenomenal example of what a good corporate citizen is. There was a recent poll that shows that crime and citizen security is the #1 concern of the Belizean people. And yes, as the commissioner said, crime is going down, but it's still the #1 concern. And it takes a lot for a company and a charitable trust to say, you know what? I know there's a lot of other priorities, but we want to make this our priority. We want to put our investment in the citizens and in the security of the people of the Kontiki area. And so let us give acknowledgement to the Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust. Thank you so much for your contribution. And of course, to Minister Shabat.
Belizean Lorenzo Gonzalez has launched Belize Tourism Futures, which is an online initiative to help those in the tourism sector gain access to information to help them enhance skills and to network. Over 400 individuals have utilized the webinars, podcasts, and blogs offered through the online platform, which is entirely free. Gonzalez said the service is intended for those who would otherwise not be able to afford further studies or who are not able to study abroad. He spoke of the impact thus far.
Yeah, so Belize Tourism Futures was an initiative by myself, along with a few partners of myself, like Belizeing and the Lodge at Chaw Creek, where we identified an issue or a gap to say in the Belize tourism industry, which is that there is a lack of innovation, or innovation is more difficult to apply to local contexts. And the reason for this is that a lot of people understand the theory of how something works, but lack the examples of how to apply it in a local situation, so the local context. And so we came up with a series of webinars that around various different important topics, international topics around in tourism. And we held monthly webinars for participants from across Belize that are involved in the tourism industry to attend. Like over 400 participants from across Belize attended these sessions. Some of them would attend live, and then others would watch the recording. And overwhelmingly, we heard that they really appreciated webinars and sessions around tourism, innovative tourism topics, because they didn't have the resources to pay for to go study abroad, or even to travel abroad and see the things in action. So the impact I've seen so far from the webinars are that it has sparked a lot of conversations and collaboration among the tourism professionals.
To celebrate the first year of service, an in-person event is organized for this Saturday, December 21st at the Guava Limb in San Ignacio, Cayo. Gonzalez said the next step is to interview experts in the field from Belize and abroad.
For tomorrow's event, which will be happening at the Guava Limb, I made a reservation for 20 people. And at the moment, there's about 18 people that have RSVP that they can surely come. And if more people would want to come, I have a wait list, and I would probably just extend it to maybe 25 or 30. Because I know it's like, I heard back from a lot of people that were like in San Pedro and or Kikaker or Placencia. They're like, oh, I'd love to come, but right now is the height of the tourism season, and I just started to work again. Like I can't make it, unfortunately. So like maybe yeah, like, so I know, like, I thought, like, okay, like 20 to 30 people would be like something more accessible, where that would be enough people to, network and learn from each other, but it's not overwhelming.
After the break, Amandala announces the winner of Christmas raffle for its 55th anniversary. Stay tuned. While most civilian Belizeans will be home for the Christmas, enjoying special time with their family, not so for several members of the security forces, as their essential services work must continue. On Wednesday, our soldiers were treated to a scrumptious Christmas meal, and some were recognized as they make career advancements. Today, it was the turn of our sailors, who were treated to their annual Christmas luncheon at the Belize Coast Guard headquarters. 140 members of the Coast Guard were promoted today. Here is Commander Rear Admiral Elton Bennett.
It's definitely a special time of the year for us. It's actually a highlight on our calendar of events where we set aside time for us to recognize the efforts of the men and women in the Belize Coast Guard. It's been a very tough year. We had some very difficult operations. We are always challenged in terms of providing maritime safety and environmental protection for our country. But the men and women of the Belize Coast Guard saw that through, and they performed very well. So this time of the year is when we set aside and we recognize some individuals and units as well who were exemplary throughout the year.
What are the plans for the operations that will be happening during this Christmas time while everybody is at home with their family and these Coast Guard officers are out there?
Right, so operations are continuous. So throughout the year, throughout the Christmas season, there are members of the Belize Coast Guard forward deployed as far north as Consejo, ensuring that our economy is protected through contraband efforts, as far south as Hunting Key, ensuring territorial integrity and ensuring sovereignty of our sea spaces. Somewhere along the atolls where the Belize Coast Guard forward operating base will be providing a search and rescue unit to ensure that mariners are safe throughout this Christmas season. We continue operations in Crooked Tree, providing that transportation for those individuals up there. So throughout the Christmas season, members of the Belize Coast Guard are forward deployed and performing the best that they can in support of our national mission.
The force is also still working on ensuring salaries are adjusted for their sailors.
Yeah, so when we recognized that we had shortcomings in their salaries for our personnel, we went to the drawing table and we came up with a people operation, a long-term and a short-term plan that will address the immediate shortcomings, and then to put in place some long-term initiatives to ensure that this doesn't reoccur. So we selected a small team of clerks here at the Coast Guard headquarters, but also assigned personnel at the Ministry of National Defense. And then we did everything that we could have done in terms of providing the resources and manpower to address this issue. And we've done quite a lot. We've since the start of this operation in September, we adjusted 35 personnel in September. In October, it was, I think, 87, and in November, 97 personnel were adjusted. So that requires a very large effort from a small team of individuals to ensure that our Coast Guard personnel receive the salary that they deserve.
The holiday season is upon us, and for most people, it's a joyous time to enjoy and indulge. However, for most pet owners, it's a stressful time of the year. President of the Cayo Animal Welfare Society, CAWS, Shauna Morelli, shared some tips for pet owners to navigate through the holiday season and keep their pets safe. Morelli spoke of the dangers of fireworks and firecrackers and how sadly one dog was killed in Belize City recently because of them. She shared what we can do to keep our pets safe and calm during the noise of the holidays.
Firecrackers, and especially the pop shots and the bombs, especially, and as loud as we think they are, it literally sounds like a war zone to animals who have way more heightened sense of hearing than we do. They don't understand where the noises are for and what they're coming from. So, although there are dogs and cats and other pets that don't panic and it doesn't faze them at all, a lot of dogs become completely terrified from the noise, and their instinct is to run, to get away, to escape. And so we always are constantly getting calls after, major events, particularly this time of year. Many, many dogs all over the country go missing, despite their owners' best intentions and attempts to keep them safe. So some of the things that we recommend, even if you're going to be home with them, are to make sure that there's no holes or escape parts of the fence. And keep in mind that animals will, go on like heroic attempts to get away. So they will climb fences, they will scale walls, they will do whatever they need to do to get away. So we always recommend the best course of action, of course, is to bring your pets inside if at all possible. This is an inconvenience for a lot of people, but it's far less of an inconvenience than searching for your pet for days or weeks. So bring them inside if you can, play music to kind of distract them. Always make sure that your pets are wearing some type of a collar and some type of identification. Now, whether that
The holidays are a time to share and to give gifts. Puppies, kittens, and other young animals are sometimes given as gifts, but this is not a recommended practice. Morelli explained why.
I don't recommend giving animals as gifts to anybody, no matter what time of the year it is, because you may think that that's something that that person wants. And a lot of parents in particular want their kids to have a puppy or a kitten, not realizing the extent of care that goes into the animal after that, and, potty training, and they get older and they need vet care and all these other things. And very, very often we see that animals are abandoned once they hit the 3 or 4 month mark. Very, very common practice to put puppies out on the street once they're getting out of that roly-poly, cute, cuddly stage. So if you are giving an animal as a gift, we do highly suggest that it's to someone who is ready for a pet, who wants a pet, who understands the responsibilities that go along with having a pet, and can afford the pet. Because it's far beyond just feeding them. They need other things too. The other thing to realize about giving gifts at the holiday season is there's always quite often a lot of people around, a lot of noise, a lot of commotion, and it can be really overwhelming for, in particular, young animals. So we always suggest that if you do want to give a gift of an animal, it's not highly recommended, but if you do, just tell them that that's your gift and wait till all the commotion and hustle bustle of the holidays passes, and then introduce the puppy to the household.
Our pets love to beg for food, and sometimes it is hard to tell them no. However, some food items are dangerous for pets. Morelli shared which food items we should avoid feeding our pets.
I mean, the number one thing is, and I know it's a common practice, but cooked chicken bones and cooked turkey bones are a huge no-no, because they dry out and they splinter when they're chewed. And they can get caught in throats, in the esophaguses, they can puncture holes in the intestines. It's just not a good practice. If you're going to feed chicken or turkey, feed it raw. We don't recommend giving dogs cooked bones of any kind. The other thing that you want to avoid giving your pets is really rich fatty food. So ham tends to be really fatty and really salty. It's not healthy for pets. Some chicken and turkey, that's totally fine. Just don't give them all the skin and the fatty stuff, because it can cause pancreatitis, which is a really painful condition. Like no gravies, no grease, no onions. Those are very toxic to dogs. Veggies, great. Carrots, peas, broccoli, potatoes, that sort of thing, great. Sweet potatoes are good for dogs. Those are the main ones. And then you want to make sure that you're also taking care if you have any like essential oils or things like that around your house, because some of them are very toxic to dogs and especially really toxic to cats.
And chocolates, they're toxic too, right?
Yes, and chocolate. Yeah, you want to be super careful with sugar and sweets, and especially chocolate around dogs. It can cause seizures.
The Cairo Animal Welfare Society, CAWS, does a lot of work in their community and often collaborates with other humane societies in the country. Unfortunately, CAWS tends to be mistaken for an animal shelter, which requires more funds and human resources than is reasonable at this time. President of CAWS, Shauna Morelli, explained what the society does.
I need people to understand we are totally a volunteer group. None of us makes a dime for doing any of this. We all have our daytime, responsibilities and jobs and kids and our own animals and things like that. So, and quite often, unfortunately, the public at large expects us to be at their beck and call. They will call at ridiculous hours of the night. They will, if they call and nobody answers, they'll just call and call and call and call and call until, sometimes 3 or 4 times in a row. We do not have a shelter. We generally can't run out and pick up animals at a moment's notice because, again, we have nowhere to put them. So typically the best we can do in that case is post them, see if someone else can help or pick up the dog or the cat or whatever it happens to be. What we do focus on right now is spay and neuter, running clinics, subsidizing owners who legitimately cannot afford the expenses. We, of course, provide, if possible, euthanasia services for animals that are critically injured or ill. That gets to be a bit tricky sometimes because inevitably it's always on a Sunday when veterinary care isn't available. And we are here to give general advice and recommendations on, vets or, occasionally, someone will send us a picture saying, this is what my dog looks like. What do you think's wrong with it? And stuff like that. We always tell people you should be calling a vet.
Due to cause being completely voluntary and run through the funding of kind-hearted ones, they do not receive assistance from the government and rely on fundraisers. Morelli explained how you can donate to their efforts. She also thanked those who bear part in feeding animals in their neighborhoods.
So typically our need is cash. We can accept donations through a local Belize bank account. We also have a PayPal account. We're currently running a GoFundMe, which just reached our funding goal for our giant mega spay and neuter clinic that we're having in January. Yes, we do take donations of dog food because we do help out a number of people that feed strays in their neighborhoods, that sort of thing. We can always use collars and leashes and things like that. Typically, though, cash is our main, because our main expense is veterinary. So, I have a lot of respect for these silent heroes that I know are also scraping by usually, but they still take a moment out of their day and money out of their own pockets to feed animals that in most cases have owners who have absolutely absolved themselves of the responsibility of taking care of their own animals. There are people that leave food out for stray dogs and cats or feed particular animals or go next door and feed owned animals that are on chains and have no other option. And incredibly, there are people that get upset when other people are providing nutrition to their pets, which is mind-boggling to me. But, every person that's out there feeding strays out of their own pockets, we appreciate you so much.
The Belize Women's Seaweed Farmers Association, BWSFA, this week launched an initiative to strengthen sustainable seaweed mariculture through capacity building, marketing, and innovation. The project is made possible through funding under the UK government's Sustainable Blue Economies Program, Blue Social Challenge Fund, BSCF. There is an urgent need for the introduction of sustainable and socially inclusive solutions into Belize's blue economy. Overfishing, unsustainable practices, and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic have impacted the blue economy. The seaweed mariculture economy's development can help BWSFA to lead this emerging industry and to foster economic resilience. Members of BWSFA spoke of the project and their objectives.
The Belize Women's Seaweed Farmers Association is driving sustainable livelihoods and biodiversity support through seaweed mariculture, creating an equitable industry model for Belize and the Caribbean. Our goal is to grow a seaweed industry that supports local communities year-round, provides affordable nutrition, and boosts the economy, as well as helping the environment by providing habitats to juvenile fish species. To work towards this, some of the activities within our project include training our members in skills like advanced boat navigation and making seaweed-based products. We are expanding our farms, setting up a mobile facility to process seaweed, and launching a brand that will focus on Belizean seaweed. This brand will include affordable seaweed-based products to the national market. In addition to these activities, we are also creating the first of its kind seaweed farm tour.
The needs are many in developing a seaweed mariculture industry in Belize, but with ongoing support from numerous partners and donors such as the Blue Social Challenge Fund, Belize can indeed become a model for sustainable marine economies in the Caribbean.
Amandala held its first ever raffle at Christmas time in honor of its 55th anniversary this year. The winner was announced in this week's edition of the paper, the last for the calendar year. We were present for the handing over of the prize and spoke with Eden Cruz, who is responsible for Amandala's marketing and sales.
Our grand prize was a big turkey ham and a case of old-fashioned lemonade, right? We had a case of Savjik, but we need to promote the local Belizean community because, Amandala is, we're black empowered. So we started this promotion because August this year made 55 years since 1969. Amandala has been in business. So I had proposed to the managers and directors, let us do something to our loyal readers. Let's give away one big prize and see how that works.
The winner was Sylvia Waite, a loyal reader of the country's leading newspaper. Waite told us that she had not yet purchased the larger items for her Christmas meal as she was waiting for the second GST-free weekend. She will now get to spend the money allotted for those purchases to something else.
I've been reading the Amandala from ever since I was in high school. I was about maybe 12 or 13 years old, and I always remember Daddy used to say, reading gives you knowledge, and I've been reading the Amandala since then.
How does it feel that you've won this? I know you may have received things elsewhere, but you have extra if that's the case.
I feel very good about winning this one. When Colin told me this morning, I heard that you win a Mandala Christmas raffle, I called him. No, I sent him a text asking, are you joking? He didn't answer, so I called him, and he didn't answer either. And that is when I decided to call Miss Eden, Miss Eden Cruz.
Confirmed it?
Yes, to confirm it. I sponsored them quite a bit, though, because every week, since the raffle came out in the papers, weekly I've been buying 2 copies of the Amandala. I had 41 tickets in the basket, in the box.
Okay, so you weren't checking to see that who would have won that for this edition, because this is when it would have been announced.
No, I wasn't checking.
If you hadn't won this, you weren't expecting to get anything?
I was going to do some shopping this weekend because I was going to take advantage of the waiver. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
You were waiting until the end.
Yes, I
so
was.
This come in handy, so now that could go to something else.
That can go to something else.
And over 220 families and senior citizens across the country benefited this holiday season from the annual Christmas Hamper Drive organized by BEL and its employees. The hampers and care packages, which were packaged and delivered by BEL employees, were distributed over the past 2 weeks. 120 of the hampers were delivered to families and contained items to prepare a traditional Christmas meal along with essential groceries. Senior citizens received 100 care packages, which contain essential groceries and toiletries. In a press release, BEL noted that, quote, our employees are actively involved in this annual tradition. Their connections with the communities we serve help us identify deserving families and individuals to assist through our various community outreach initiatives. Giving back to our community is part of our BEL culture and reflects one of our core values. We remain grateful for these opportunities to give back to our community and share the spirit of the season with deserving families and individuals, end quote. And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. A repeat can be viewed on the station later tonight at 9 and again Monday at midday. Join us again Monday for another news broadcast. I am Drea Espinosa. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend.